Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about the true skill of a writer. And this is just my opinion on the matter. I've written 2 books, and you see, let me preface it with this. This is how I structure, this is how I write my books. I have these main events, these main actions, these main clashes, these important scenes, significant pieces of dialogue, uh, interesting descriptions, right? I already have them in my mind, but my task and the task of any writer is for you to arrive at those amazing scenes and those climaxes. And your true skill is shown when you make that journey, that path interesting, all the way to those incredible scenes. I think that is the true skill of a writer. We have all read those amazing books, but even the works of geniuses have chapters or pages that are a bit slow, a bit dull, a bit meandering, and it is your task. The task of any writer is to make that transition at least fun or interesting or compelling or whatever word you want to use, right? Because every book has its moments where it just shines, right? Those scenes cannot be toppled, but you can make the journey a bit more interesting, right? When I wrote my first novel, I had all of these amazing climaxes, all of these incredible scenes already in my head. You know, I knew that this clash had to happen. I knew that this character had to do this horrible thing. I knew that this, battle had to happen and this revelation had to occur here. But then I had to reach those moments. I had to arrive. I had to go on the journey, and it was difficult to make that journey interesting and fun, right? So that is the true skill of a writer, all right? You have to try to, even if it is a slower scene where nothing extraordinary happens, it should be, the reader should be invested, right? You can't have these cliche descriptions and these cliche we're walking around and we're talking about nothing, right? What's your favorite kind of soup, and so on. For the most part, every page has to have some sort of intent in it. It has to convey to the reader something, a feeling, an atmosphere. It has to show bits and pieces of a character. Even the descriptions themselves, even the environment, and how these characters behave in this environment, all of this has to be above, average, above ordinary, right? They have to be compelling in some way or another. And this is the test of any writer. With each book, a writer is tested yet again, because a writer with a little bit of experience is prone to is prone to take shortcuts, as well as there is a tendency to repeat previous sentences, thoughts, descriptions, what have you. Right? So a writer has to be always cautious and attentive. And being attentive and cautious and being very careful when it comes to details and how you go about writing the thing, that's how you are tested repeatedly, right? And that's how you improve your skill. You know, a good example of this is if you are tasked to write a banal scene, and you are tasked to make it interesting. Let's have a family dinner and there's some talking going on, and your task is to make this scene, let's say 10 pages, really pop off in some way or another. Ergo, to make it interesting for the reader, right? It is always a challenge. You know, don't be down on yourself. Writing anything will always be a challenge, and there is no shortcut to it, right? But there you can always rewrite, you can always edit, right? You basically have to have the framework of this scene written, and then you can go back to it and improve when improving is needed, right? And that makes it a whole lot easier because now you basically understand, the let's say the entirety or the major pieces of your story. If you have that down on paper, then you can go back and then you can add or remove certain aspects of it, right? And another test is, and which shows your skill, is for you to know which part does not belong and which does, and where and you also need to know where improving needs to be had. So that's basically it. This is the true skill of a writer, of a novelist. You have to make the journey or the in between scenes to those major scenes interesting. That is a true crusade and a campaign and a mission. That is your goal. Because when you begin a story, you already understand that certain things need to happen that are, of the highest significance. But arriving to those scenes is the most difficult part, right? Because like I said, I already knew the major scenes that would be impactful. The revelations, the clashes, the crazy stuff, basically. But it was a problem for me to get there. I just struggled a lot, and this is what writing is. It is a struggle, it is a torture, and it will always be so. But when you arrive at that moment, that amazing scene will be seamless, right? Because you've already dealt with the hard parts. You've already finished the miscellaneous, and the miscellaneous is also quite good, right? And now you've reached this climax in the story, and you'll write it easily, right? So that's basically it. You know, this is how a writer is tested, and this is the true skill of any writer. It is an endless struggle. You have to keep on it, and you have to make every page, every paragraph, every sentence grab your reader's attention. And that is torture. But at the end it will be a masterpiece, right? And you will be overjoyed. Okay? So that's about it. See ya.